Well, hello there, and welcome to day 134 of A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. And of course, today I get to return to my Marvel Cinematic Universe well with the genuinely surprise hit, phenomenal film, what do you call it? Lightning in a Bottle, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's funny, really, because Guardians of the Galaxy, like I say, lightning in a bottle, even amongst people who are Marvel fans and are aware of the comics, the Guardians of the Galaxy property was not one that was particularly well known or liked. And there's something about it that just everything came together so well. I mean, I've talked about that throughout this week, conveniently enough. There are two themes, I suppose, that I've talked about this week that really also bear on Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. The first one being just this amazing cast of people. I mean, with Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, in spite of the fact that his role is rather limited to some degree, and Batista, or Dave Batista, sorry. I still sometimes am used to referring to wrestlers turned actor by their wrestlers' names. Even now, I still call Dwayne Johnson The Rock when I'm not thinking. But again, these such a great collaboration of actors, where it's just like this is a beautifully balanced film, and it's one that is just full of joy. And frankly, like I say, the cast, but James Gunn, this wasn't a director I was aware of before Guardians, and he just came out of nowhere. I've talked a lot in my MCU retrospectives about the Phase 2 and the fact that they were experimenting with what they could do, that sort of pushed the boat out. And of course, I talked about how we of course had Shane Black for Iron Man 3, didn't work out. Originally, Patty Jenkins was supposed to direct Thor: The Dark World, didn't work out. They had to replace her, and the director they brought on just didn't have the right style, I suppose, for it. But then, of course, we've had the Russo brothers with The Winter Soldier, and now James Gunn with this, and it really shows the fact that sometimes you'll try to bring things together, you'll bring in a director into this franchise, and it just won't quite come together, and sometimes it just lines up beautifully. And James Gunn, he's one of the golden children of the MCU. Between the Russo brothers, James Gunn, Taika Waititi, Joe Watts even, it really demonstrates the fact that when they got the right kind of director and they knew how to both acknowledge the franchise but also give each individual film a distinct identity, it just comes together so well. I mean, conversely, we'll get into the end of Phase 2 with Ant-Man, and this is sort of an example where it didn't work out, where, similar to Patty Jenkins, they had Edgar Wright, and despite the fact that Edgar Wright is such an imaginative and creative director, he just couldn't fit the franchise model, and unfortunately that meant he departed ways with them, and Peyton Reed came in, and of course Peyton Reed, again, works so well within that mould. And again, this is, it's very similar to Star Wars in that respect, where there is going to be a lot of backwards and forwards with trying different directors, trying different styles and tones. I mean, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe Star Wars film. You can tell that the style, the look, the variety of worlds. It's interesting that I, of course, in a previous video discussed Rogue One, and how some people are critical of Rogue One because it jumps from scene to scene to scene to location without really giving them a distinct identity. Now, I dispute that. I do think that they have a feel to place. And yes, they do. They don't spend as much time on their set pieces in certain locations as other Star Wars films do. But I still felt a sense of consistency within the planet hopping and the spaceships and the settings. And similarly with this, yes, we do get a distinct identity for Xandar and Nowhere and Peter's ship, but this does involve a lot of jumping around. But James Gunn really does inject everything with so much character and colour and layers of references, but also something, I don't know, distinctive that feels like, oh, this is calling back to Marvel Comics, but at the same time looks nothing like the Marvel Comics that it's based on. I remember, I've watched this film dozens of times, for instance, the Nowhere stuff. I remember watching it with a group of friends who were only half paying attention, admittedly, but all of a sudden they clocked on to the fact that Nowhere is a giant celestial head, and that blew their minds. And they wanted to go back and to a previous part of the film just to look at, the creativity and design of having that kind of setting for a section of a film. And like I say, that's just amazing. And to have, like I say, this amazing cast with a group of characters who, like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy are not a particularly well-known group. I mean, the Guardians in this film aren't even really the Guardians that were established in the comics. They are and they aren't. But from this point on, this is the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the comics sort of adapted to reflect that this is the common known identity of the Guardians and the roster within it. And I think that's just phenomenal. I think, it shows that James Gunn really wanted to give these characters a distinct identity. There's something, James Gunn is known for doing comedy before this, and again, the humour is so well chosen. I mean, unfortunately, we will get to later Guardians films and Avengers films featuring the Guardians where it does, the balance does go off kilter a bit, where it leans too much into the humour. But this is a much more restrained James Gunn, where yes, he has humour, but it's really well placed. A certain character has a certain style to them, like Drax, for instance, who, the humour comes from the deadpan and the fact that he speaks so eloquently and yet doesn't understand metaphor or simile or any kind of anything that isn't literal language. And of course you have the sort of roguishness of Peter Quill, and you have the sort of sharp tongue of Rocket, and it shows this great dynamic. I mean, even we have Ronan and Nebula, who are of course the sort of first and secondary villain, and people are very critical of Ronan. They put him in the same category as characters like the Dark Elf from Dark World or Whiplash from Iron Man 2. Frankly, I'm much more generous towards Ronan. I think he's actually a really well written and performed character who his seriousness is a perfect counterbalance to the sort of silliness and the over the top nature of the heroes, and of course that comes together really well in the climax, involving of course the dance off sequence. And of course Nebula, I mean, Karen Gillan, no one has ever questioned that Karen Gillan came into this franchise swinging and has continued to just demonstrate, such a strong performance as this rich and complex character. And then again, it's just the supporting actors, the fact that you have things like the Collector who has previously in a cameo and will play a part in the grander Marvel Cinematic Universe. You have the Nova Corps, You even have Thanos, who at this point we'd seen one head turn cameo from the Avengers film, and then no one knew what to make of this. The fact that he has this Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back like appearance in this film, where it's just a hologram and that's all we get. And yet now, retrospectively, the build-up and the way that they just tease him like that for later films shows that, Kevin Feige was really playing his cards close to his chest and was really building towards something great. And like I said, this just does it so well. The other theme that really fits well with this week's films is the fact that the musicality of this, the fact that it knows how to infuse this, I don't know how to describe it, this crystallized playlist of music that really evokes a certain time and place, and yet has nothing really to do with the setting. It's not, and yet it balances so well this 80s, 70s styles of music that just add and build onto this space opera setting, and again, this is just another pillar that just holds the Guardians up. And I think, like I said earlier this week, I've talked extensively about musicality and the fact that can only enhance the experience of a film. And yeah, I just genuinely think this is such a phenomenal film. I think I've talked previously about which films are great. I talked about the Avengers as being an eye-opening experience, or Iron Man, of course, being this perfect starting point. But watching this and remembering, this is the film that I think I would show someone. They don't exist anymore, but someone who has never seen a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, hasn't heard of them, they might know a little bit about the comics or seen some of the, like a Spider-Man, a Sam Raimi Spider-Man film or an X-Men film, but they've never seen a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, and they want something that isn't too bogged down, but also fun. I think this is the one I'd show them, because as much as Iron Man is a great starting point, I think Iron Man's quite mature for what it is, and I wonder if you were a younger person, like a child or a preteen, whether Iron Man might be too adult. I don't know. I'm not 100% set on that. But this is so fun and poppy that you could be 8, you could be 80, and I think you would find something wonderful in this film. Yeah, I genuinely think this is one of those ones up there. It's interesting. Now that I've gotten to this point now, I'm quite a way into my Marvel retrospective, and it does make me wonder whether I should start to create a ranking of all the ones I've seen. I mean, I've seen all of them, but on this rewatch, all the ones I'm now getting to start to go, okay, where do they all line up in in an order of my preference? So I might do that and maybe put it on Twitter or something, and then do, as I watch one, add to it and see where it goes. We'll see. I may not. But yes, phenomenal film. Genuinely one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially one of the best first outings. Wonderful film. But yes, thank you for joining me. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and share the video because they all help me in the algorithm. And please do check out my back catalogue of reviews, including my playlist of MCU retrospective. Follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Woodley, where I'm always tweeting about movies and TV shows, and I put up links to these videos as they go up. Thank you for joining me. Take care.